Yeah, the Feast of the Holy Family, it reminds us of families and relationships, and so much of the reading, especially the first reading, Sirach, says, hey, you need to honor your parents. Honor thy father and mother. And for some of you, that's like, yeah, that wasn't too hard to do, or that's not all that hard to do now. But it's a command of the Lord, and it doesn't have any exceptions. In other words, it doesn't say, oh, honor your father and mother, comma, if they are nice to you, treat you well, all that kind of stuff. It is a command of the Lord, and it's true for all of us, regardless of our circumstances. And so I appreciate that there, in a group this size, there are people, family relationships weren't good, might have been absolutely horrible. And so especially for those people, this can be a little tricky. What do you do with this? So a couple things to remember at the outset. One, it's a command of the Lord. Second of all, it's worth remembering that this command was given to us after the fall of man. God did not give this commandment to Adam and Eve when everything was perfect. He gave it to Moses after the people had come out of slavery, out of Egypt, when they had been treated really, really badly by the Egyptians. And the Lord must have known that it wasn't going to be the easiest thing to do for everybody, but it's still there. It's good to be reminded there are 10 commandments, not for some of us only 9. And the other thing that I think would be helpful to know up front is that this takes some effort. If you were blessed to have perfect parents, or have now perfect parents, well, it wouldn't take you any effort at all to honor your father and mother. But even those of us who had a really good set of parents, if you will, there were days when it was harder. And so it's going to take some effort. And so if you can keep those 3 things in mind, let me tell you a story, a true story, about a boy I met years and years ago. He was a very devoted Christian. He really tried, even as a 16, 17-year-old boy, to be a disciple of Christ. And one day he told me that he had been thinking about the commandment, honor thy father and mother. And he says, I don't know that I do that. Which surprised me, because this is a really terrific guy, and I knew a little bit about his parents, and I just could not imagine that they were not getting along. But the boy said to me, no, you have to understand, I'm nice to them, and I sort of do what they tell me to do, but it doesn't feel like I'm actually honoring them. I feel like there's something missing. And so he took it to prayer. And when I tell you this kid prayed about it, that's not just some flippant description. This kid took it to the Lord. I want to honor my parents. I need you to help me, Lord, understand how you want me to do that. And he told me, it was, a couple of days, a week later, something like that. As he put it, I saw it. That is, he went home one day after school, walked through his house, and then got to his room and saw his room. And you have to understand, those 2 things were very different. He had a mother who kept an immaculate house. It was absolutely perfectly kept. Everything was in exactly the right place. Everything was clean and dusted. And this boy's room was every stereotype you can have in your brain right now of a teenager's room. The bed had not been made in ages, clothes thrown all over the place. His desk barely had enough room on it for him to do any work. It was a disaster area. And he looked at it and he realized, oh, that's it. And so to honor his mother, he cleaned up his room. And you have to understand, he made that room look precisely the way the rest of the house looked. Everything was in its place, everything was neat, everything was clean. And he kept it that way for the rest of his high school career, and indeed all through college when he was home, until he moved out. I think there's something to be learned from that example. Now, I know that some of you might be saying, well, but that was easy for him. He didn't have the relational issues that I have. But the idea is not to suggest that you and I all need to go home and clean up our rooms. The idea is to suggest that it's what he did. First, he really decided he wanted to do something about this. What is it that I need to do? And his answer was very specific to him, to his situation, his relationship, his mother in this case. And that would be what you and I need to do. You want to honor your parents or honor a sibling and even a friend, even a coworker, you just probably need to stop and actually give it some thought. The alternative is always to react. They do something and you react. They do something else and you react. And that's not likely to work out very well. It's deliberate. The Lord, when he gives us these commands, he's not asking us to deal with our feelings. He's asking us to deal with choices. And that's the second thing you can learn from this boy. He did something. In other words, it wasn't just one of these sort of things like, oh, my New Year's resolution, I'll be nicer to my parents. Vague, and who knows if it ever happens. No, he prayed about it, decided this is the thing I'm going to do. And he could get to the end of a day and know, I did it. I did not do it. The room looks good. The room needs to look a little better. That sort of thing. And so I would suggest to you the same thing is true for us. That we need to remind ourselves that, yeah, you might have some really horrible situation, but I would think the boy's example to us would be, you take that to prayer. Lord, you know my dad, and you know what he's like. You know all about him. In fact, you know more about him than I do. And you know me, and so what is it you want me to do? In what way can I find a way to honor my father? What does that mean for me in this situation? And I'm sure if that young man, now an older guy, if he was here today, he would tell you the Lord will answer that prayer if you offer it. And then once you have some idea what it is you want to do, well, then you just do it. And keep in mind, maybe it's something simple. That is, maybe it is just simply like, well, all right, the way things have gone, I really need to set up some boundaries. I can't be around my parents. I can't invite them to Christmas, things like that. Maybe that's perfectly reasonable, but there's no reason why you can't stay in contact. That is, send Christmas cards, birthday cards, anniversary cards, those kind of things. And there's absolutely no reason why any of us cannot pray. And mind you, not praying that, oh dear Lord, would you please fix my dad, but rather just praying that the Lord might bless your father, mother, whatever it is. Just bless them. Father, I just hope they'll have a terrific day today. Just leave it at that. That would be a terrific way to honor your parents. Maybe it's the only thing you can do, or maybe it's the only way you can start. It's true, the thing I mentioned to the students, and we celebrate Christmas, but sometimes we forget. Hey, it's the little baby Jesus' birthday. We should give him something. Maybe we should follow his example. He had some communication issues with his parents in that reading. There's no doubt about that. But he honored Mary and Joseph. We're sure he did it better than any of us will ever do. And maybe we could do the same.